Hi, everybody. It's Kelly Russell, the Rock Your Joy Coach. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I'm so happy to be here and happy you're here and happy Valentine's Day. Happy Celebration of Love Day. And why we're here. We're here to talk about celebrating love and in the particular form of you don't get what you don't give. And that's what I'm going to be talking about. But before I do that, I am just going to ask you to let me know if you can hear me. So, put a comment in the chat that says that you can hear me so that I know that you can. So we are here on Valentine's Day, the day that we celebrate love. And I have always been such a Valentine's geek. And yay, Amy can hear me. Wahoo! Woo! Thank you, Amy. um, so when we talk about celebrating love and there's all these different aspects about celebrating love, and I've been talking about it all week. I've been doing a lot of lives and sending emails and all kinds of things talking about love in different aspects of it. Relationship, talking about relationship love, or love expressed in relationship in all different ways. And so tonight the topic that is I think it's so important for us to focus on this, that you don't get what you don't give. And for those of you who don't know me or aren't familiar with me, I am a Course in Miracles teacher. I'm a spiritual educator. I am a happiness coach. My platform is A Course in Miracles, and I am also a practicing psychotherapist. And so in all of those roles, I have a lot of people talking to me about their relationships and different aspects of them. And that's how I kind of know what people are thinking and experiencing and journeying through, is just based on what I hear from people in all these different, kind of aspects of my work. And there is this kind of belief that people have that I expect someone to give to me, and that being in the relationship is what am I going to get, and how is someone going to give to me, and I need people to give to me in a particular way. And I liken this kind of to a lot of the abundance teachings or the prosperity teachings that are out there, in that when and some of you may have taken some of those courses before, where talking about creating wealth and creating abundance and creating prosperity, one of the things that is discussed, one of the ideas that is central to the whole thing about receiving more abundance, is that you give abundance first, right? That you, whether it is tithing, whether it is giving your stuff away, going through your things and giving your stuff away and donating it, whether it is, um, you know, you giving of your time and giving of your talent, giving of your treasure, again, which would be a financial thing. The idea is that you're making space, that nature abhors a vacuum, and that you are making space to receive what is, you're making space to receive. So you're creating a container that will be filled by whatever it is that you are giving. So if you're making space in your closet, you are going to receive more clothes to put in your closet. If you're making space in your financial life, you are going to be filling the space in your financial life with more money or more gifts or more wealth, or getting a raise or starting a business or having success in some way in your financial life. And so the relationship, giving and receiving, is no different. A Course in Miracles teaches that giving and receiving are one in truth. And what that means is there literally is no difference between the two. That it's, I like to think of it as like a circle that is between you and another person. It's almost like a conveyor belt, right? A conveyor belt is just a really elongated circle, and it goes to the other person and back to you. And so what you are putting out there on the conveyor belt is going to come back to you. And so when we don't put anything on the conveyor belt, when we stay contracted, when we withhold, when we say, well, I'm not going to do anything until they do something. I'm not going to, I'm not going to put myself out there. I'm not going to express love until they express love. I'm not going to be the one to say something first. I'm not going to apologize until they apologize. I'm not going to be the one to extend an olive branch. Then what happens is nothing. Nothing happens because you're not willing to be the person that is the first one to reach out. And so there may not be a hand extending back to you, whereas if you are willing to be the first person that reaches out, what you may get in return is the hand extended back to you. You may get the response. So when you make an expression of love, what is going to come back to you is an expression of love. If you don't make any expression, don't expect anything to be coming back. Not having the expectation. If you are withholding, if that's what you're putting on the conveyor belt is withholding, then withholding is what you can expect to receive in return. And so I hear people say, well, I shouldn't have to be the one to put something out there. I shouldn't have to be the first one to give. You know, why should I do that? Like I deserve to receive love. I shouldn't have to do anything first. And it's not about having to. That's the thing. It's not about any kind of obligation. It's not about having to do anything. It's about, well, what do you want? Let's just start there. And A Course in Miracles says, whatever you, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it's whatever is lacking, whatever you perceive that is lacking is what you're not giving in any situation. And so if you're perceiving a lack somewhere, and like we talked about, if you're perceiving a lack in money, then you give money. If you're perceiving a lack in books, then you give away, go through your books, give books, and then make space on your bookshelf and watch the new books come in. If you perceive a lack in the clothes that you have or anything else, then you give of what you have and then expect it to come back to you. And so only what you're not giving can be lacking in any situation means if you are perceiving a lack of love in any way in a present relationship, then you give love. So if you're perceiving a lack of, the partner isn't listening to me, they never listen. So instead of whining to the partner about how they never listen and bitching at them and telling them what they're doing wrong and attacking them for it, listen to them. You be the one to listen. You be the one to give listening to them. And as you listen to them and be interested and really be curious and tune into what they're saying and respond to that, that will be reflected back to you. They will listen to you if you listen to them. If you believe that you're not getting enough attention, then instead of telling the partner how they're not giving you enough attention and how they're not being a good enough partner to you because they're not attending to you properly, you give them attention, shower them with attention, and tell them how great they are and tell them how much you appreciate them and acknowledge the person that they are. And this isn't just about partner love. I'm talking about it from that standpoint because oftentimes this is what I hear from people when they are complaining to me about their partners not doing what they want them to do. But honestly, the relationships are with everyone, all kinds of relationships. So whether it is a partner, whether it is a coworker or a friend or your parent or a kid or your neighbor or your boss or anybody else in any other category, pay attention to what you are feeling you're lacking. You're feeling that they're not doing, that they're not giving you, that you need from them that isn't happening. And then instead of going full speed ahead with that and deciding that that's what you need to tell them that they need to give you, that's the almost the surest way not to get it. Because what we're doing when we do that is we're making the person wrong, we are attacking them, we're telling them that they're not doing a good enough job, that it's not enough for us, we are shaming them and making them guilty. And so all of those things are fear based. All of those things are low vibrational energy, fear based thoughts and words and action. And so anything that is coming from a place of fear is not going to be capable of attracting love. It just isn't. Fear and love are way far apart vibrationally. They are not an energetic match for each other. One does not attract the other. So love attracts love and fear attracts fear. And so if if what you are, say you are, you want more friends in your life, you want more, you want more activities to do with your friends. You want to have more going on with the friends that you've already got, but maybe you want new friends too. And maybe you want to have older friendships be reactivated. And when you make that intention, I would like to have more friendship in my life. I would have to like to have more active friendship in my life and more going on with friends in my life and more you know more people that want to be my friends showing up and wanting to do stuff with me showing up. So that's the intention that you put out there, and then you don't sit back and wait for the phone to ring. And I have had people that I've worked with where that's exactly what they're doing, and they're saying nobody's calling me and I'm not hearing from anybody, and it's a complaining thing. And when I say, well, what are you doing to how many people are you calling and who are you inviting out for coffee or who are you asking to you know meet you for a glass of wine or something like that, they're like, what are you talking about? Like it's not up to me to do that. It's up to people to call me. And I will say in particular, not just around friendship, but that happens in particular around parents thinking that their kids should call them rather than them calling their kids. I'm just going to say that. So, but with regard to friendship, so then you say you want more friends, you say you want to do more stuff with friends. So then you get out there and send texts or make phone calls and invite friends to do things. And I mean, if they can't, if they're busy this week, whatever, you put something on the calendar. If they say, "Yeah, I'd love to do that," but then I'll get back to you and whatever. Ping them again in a couple weeks. If they don't get back to you or they keep saying they're not available, then focus on some other friend. But my point is, again, what you're not when you're not given, you're not getting. So you putting the interest out there to do more stuff with your friends is going to garner more people contacting you, calling you, wanting to be your friend, striking up conversations with you. The same thing as I said before with partners, or this really just applies to anyone in any situation. If you are having some kind of a dispute with somebody and or you're feeling sort of neglected in some way in some relationship in your life, or like you're invisible or that you don't have enough to do, you take the action first. And when you take the action first, and you're making the intention, but you are getting off your butt and you're actually going and doing something about it. You're giving, you are extending, you are energizing yourself, then it comes back to you. So again, I think it's a really helpful visual to see that conveyor belt between yourself and every other person that there is, that that you have any kind of a relationship with. And this is a way of you kind of consciously monitoring and paying attention to and taking care of and being, attuned to how you are, how you're loving. It's not a way of controlling the love that we get, but it is a way of inviting it. It's a way of being more abundant in love, is seeing the importance of our own willingness to give, and rather than sitting back, or rather than withholding, or rather than giving into our fear. I mean, I think that that's one of the reasons why people don't step up and give and reach out and be the first to extend a hand or make a phone call or send a text or say I'm sorry or extend the olive branch or invite somebody somewhere, or ask for somebody's number, or say, do you want to, do you want to go for a walk, or do you want to go get a cup of coffee or something like that? It's fear. And so whenever we are giving into fear, whenever we are letting fear be the boss of us, whenever we're allowing fear to keep us from doing something that love is calling us toward, or our authentic self is calling us toward, that's always when we are literally creating a life that we don't want. We are That's when we are architecting isolation and loneliness, and feeling bad, that feeling left out, and FOMO, and all of that. um, when we are taking action, we're moving the energy. That's one of the reasons why it works on a number of levels. It works in energetic vibrational attraction. It works on moving the energy around, that when we take some kind of inspired action, then stuff happens because we're stirring it. We're getting the energy swirling around and sparkling around, and as we move it around, it moves. And if we're not doing anything, then it's stagnant, and it's sitting there. And you know how it is when water stays stagnant, it gets it's all gets polluted and stinky, and it doesn't it's not vibrant and life-giving and clear and flowing and beautiful. So that's really what I know that I've seen this in my own life. I've talked a lot in my communications with you all about having had conflict in my relationships, having had estrangements in my life with people, family members, best friends, um, just having tumultuous stuff happen and drama and all of that. And I haven't had that in a long time, which I'm very happy to say. But I remember what that was like in my relationships. And I know that I was a withholder. I absolutely was like, they're gonna have to come to me, and they need to apologize to me. They need to reach out to me. Um, I'm gonna give them the silent treatment until they behave the way that I want them to. Whatever. It was so stupid. I mean, it was literally doing that, holding resentment against another person really is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. I mean, it doesn't work. And all it does is make you feel terrible and sick and icky and nothing, it does nothing positive. But when I would get to a place where I could put my fear aside or I could put my pride aside and I could just take the action that my inner being, that my spirit, that my authentic self was calling me forth to do. That's the thing, is that our intuitive guidance is never wrong. It's always spot on. And if we check in with ourselves and we ask that aspect, that higher aspect, higher part of ourselves, what should I do in this situation? Should I withhold or should I reach out? Should I stay in isolation or should I make a phone call or send a text? Should I sit back and wait for the world to come to me and wait for friends to knock on my door, get dropped off by the UPS guy? Or should I take the chance and call somebody and extend an invitation? Like your inner, that higher self, that aspect of you that is pure positive energy and love and an extension of the divine, is always going to call you toward taking that action. Is always going to call you toward love. It's never going to tell you to stay in fear. Staying in fear gets you nowhere. And any kind of position that you might take that puts yourself in a they need to come to me, I'm not going to approach them, or they need to be the first one to do whatever, um, that is basically an attack, and it's putting yourself in a place of greater importance than the other person. And so again, if you just look at it from a vibration standpoint, it's very, very low frequency, those kinds of thoughts, and making somebody else less important than yourself, or making yourself in a position of higher priority than they are, instead of you're both equal and either one of you could reach out. And if they're not reaching out, then you be the one. A Course in Miracles would say, in a situation like that, or in a conflict, is kind of a scenario, whoever is the saner of in the at the time. And it could be that in one time I'm the saner and another time you're the saner. If both of us are insane and neither one of us is reaching out because both of us are believing some BS, that is we're allowing to then keep us apart from each other and keep us in the state of separation. Well, that is how all of our problems started in the first place, is that we believed that we were in a state of separation, and that is how we continue to live in a place of fear, and that is how we continue to create relational difficulties and challenges and problems. It's always when we think that we're in a separated state. We feel separated from the other person, and we feel separate from our creator. And as I've explained in a couple of these live videos, that you can't be separate from your creator. So let's just start there. There's no way. You are an extension of God. You are, or whatever name you have for it, you are connected and related, and it's not up to you. You are an extension of God, period. And you don't get to change that. However, you can put all kinds of obstacles up in the way of it so that you don't have an awareness that you're connected to God. And so you feel separate from God, and you think maybe God has abandoned you, or he's not listening, or she isn't attending to you, or there is no divine, or whatever. But the truth is, it's just that you are not tuned into it. And one of the ways that we are able to tune into God and feeling not separate, feeling joined again, is through being in relationship with our brothers and seeing our brothers as if they are an extension of God. And in that reflection of us seeing our brothers as if they are an extension of the divine, seeing the light in them and speaking to the spirit in them, that is how we see ourselves. We see our own light reflected in the light of our brothers. And so if we are holding anyone in judgment or we're holding them away from ourselves, then we're doing the same thing to ourselves. We're doing it all to our own selves. And the only way that we can stop doing that is by making the decision to be the one to extend. So if you feel like you're lacking love, then you extend love. If you feel like you're lacking attention, then you give attention. If you feel like you don't have enough friendship, then you go be a friend to somebody, and so on. I mean, it really is simple. I understand that it may not be easy, but the only reason it's not easy, it's not really because it's not easy. It is because we have created all kinds of beliefs and thoughts and things that stand in our way of being able to receive that love. And so when we decide, when we make a decision, when we make a commitment that I'm not going to be available for this anymore. I am not going to continue to to contribute to my own lack of anything. Nothing is being held away from you. Nothing's being withheld from you. There's nothing that you can't have or do or be except what you are deciding to not that you can't have or do or be based on your own beliefs. And for you to be able to change that situation, you have to be the one to make the decision that I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not available for this anymore. And so if there's something that I want that I feel like I don't have, or I don't have access to, or isn't happening for me, or isn't showing up, then instead of blaming other people or other situations or anyone or anything or any institution or idea or politician or company or corporation or whatever, I'm not going to blame myself either, but I am going to say it's my own responsibility to attract this in. And the way that I do that is, what am I putting on the conveyor belt? And it's the first thing that I tell people when they tell me that that something's lacking in their lives and that they don't have something. The first thing that I ask is, how are you giving it? Where are you giving it? And people look at me like I have three heads, and like they don't see the relationship, but the relationship is absolutely there. Giving and receiving are two sides of the same coin. And as you give, you will receive. It doesn't matter what it is. And so if it's love in any form, or if it's the stuff you want, great. And if you're giving it, you're going to receive it. It's going to be awesome. And you're going to love it. And you're going to dig it. And you're going to be like, yay, I'm so happy that I did this. And if it's based in fear and what you're putting out there is attack thoughts, condemnation, making people wrong, telling them they're not doing enough, and etc., that those fear-based things are also going to come back to you, and that is what you are going to see showing up, and it's going to show up as conflict in your life, or people telling you that you're wrong, or it's exactly, it's going to come, it's going to, whatever you're putting out is going to come back. So that's really the simplified way to say it. So I hope this was helpful for you, and feel free to put questions in the chat if you have, if there's anything that you're wondering about here that wasn't clear, or you want more clarification on, or want to ask a question. Please go ahead and put it in the chat. And I am going to I will be asking for questions a little bit later on as well, but for this moment, I am going to switch tracks and say that. So I have launched this past week, and I'm so thrilled about this. I'm still kind of I'm still kind of in disbelief. But this past week, I have launched my first course, my first digital course. It is a pre-recorded course that I put together, that I created. It's called Creating Miraculous Relationships, Rocking Big Ass Love with Others, Yourself, and God. And this course I developed because I wanted there to be a way for me to share everything that has worked for me, and the tools and the practices and the mindset and the spiritual psychology that has been so critical in me being able to repair the relationships in my life that were conflicted, as I talked about before. To be and not only that, but to be able to attract relationships that were aligned, and new friendships, and when I attracted a new partner, um, that it was it these after having done this work and using these tools and putting these practices into place, and being in the mindset that I've learned how to be in, it has literally been miraculous, and I have created miraculous relationships and miraculous experiences. And so my life is super different now than it once used to be. So the link is on the screen there, and it's also the link is in the chat, and so you can feel free to visit that. This course I've been offering this week at an introductory discount, and it is $111, and that extends through tonight at midnight. It's normally 333, and so this has just been a special price during this launch period, which is ending tonight at midnight. And then it's also there is a bonus attached for people who enroll in this course by midnight tonight. That is 4 weeks of live course specific group coaching with me. And that is going to take place starting next Tuesday evening, the 20th at 6 p.m., and then going for the following 3 Tuesday evenings at 6 p.m. So it will be a Zoom call. I will be sending out a Zoom link to everybody who's enrolled in the course, and we will be meeting on Zoom. And it'll be a Q&A, and I will give coaching to people that are asking the questions. Those calls will be recorded and available to people that have enrolled in the course. So I just could not be more geeked and excited and jacked up and on fire about this, because I wanted to create a program for a long time, and be able to teach everything, as I said, that had worked for me, because we don't have to suffer. And I feel like I did make my own self suffer for a long time, because I didn't know any better. I didn't have access to what I have access with now. I didn't know how to change my mind about things. I didn't know how to shift from fear to love. I didn't know how to transform any situation into a miracle. I didn't know how to do any of that. I didn't know how to look at a situation differently. I didn't know how to ask for help and ask for guidance. I didn't know how to do any of that. And it's not like we're taught all that in school. We are taught a lot of stupid stuff that we're never going to learn, use ever again. But we're not really taught a lot about how to be in relationships with people, and how to make those relationships really happy and really fulfilled and content and magical and satisfying. And I had a lot of help cracking the code to that, and it was spiritual help, and that same kind of spiritual help is available to you as well. And so in this course, I don't just talk about how to make relationships with other people miraculous. I talk about that, and I do talk about things that you can put into effect and things that you can do and ways of thinking about things and ways of talking to people and kind of what to do and what not to do. And I talk about why we even have relationships and why there is so much relational conflict. And I talk about how we even got here and you know why do we start out and see people as being so great and we're so happy to be in relationship with them in the beginning and we meet somebody and it's all symbiotic and it's all romantic and or we have a new baby and the baby is precious and we just love the baby so much and then we just feel like our parent is the most important person in the world to us and we just love them more than we love anybody and then at some point relationships all change and we feel different toward the person and so I talk about that and why that is and what we can do to bring us back to the love in any relationship and I talk about the relationship that we have with ourselves and how important that relationship with ourselves is and prioritizing it and how do we talk to ourselves and how do we treat ourselves and how do we treat ourselves differently than maybe we treat other people that we feel are really precious to us? And why is that? And why do we diss ourselves? And why do we mistreat and abuse ourselves? And so I talk about the relationship between doing that and what we end up seeing in relationships from other people because other people just as other people in the way that we treat them we are going to be able to see ourselves by the way that we treat other people. The reverse is also true. So how we treat ourselves is also going to be reflected in the kind of people that we attract and the kind of relationships that we attract. And if we don't love ourselves and we don't adore ourselves and we don't think we're just the best thing since pockets, we're not going to be attracting somebody who reflects that for us and feels that way toward us. There's just no way that that can happen. Just even from a purely energetic standpoint, the two are completely misaligned with one another. But it's more than that. It's more than energetics because energetics is part of this world and the world of time and space. It's energetics isn't really part of the world beyond this. And so it's that, but it's more than that. And so the other piece that I teach about that is just as important, maybe even more important, is the relationship that you have with the divine. Because the relationship that you have with the divine is interconnected with the relationship you have with yourself and the relationship that you have with others. And if you don't have a relationship with the divine, and there's no specific form of it, you don't have to be a Course in Miracles student, you don't have to go back to the religious tradition of your childhood. You don't even have to be in a religion. This isn't about religion. Religions are man made. It is about having a relationship with the higher power, the higher aspect, the broader perspective, the universe, the however you call it. It is what you perceive to be greater than yourself, greater than this world, a divine intelligence, if you prefer that. The great I am, or all that is, or whatever. There's all kinds of words for it, but it's your relationship with that. It's you cultivating your relationship with whatever your perception is of that. Because we labor in this world thinking that it's just us here and we're alone and we're isolated. Kind of like I was talking before about sitting at home and not reaching out to anybody and then feeling all boo boo kitty because you're alone and lonely. But it's only because you're not reaching out. It's only because what you're not giving. So the divine is giving to us all the time. The divine is communicating with us all the time, guiding us, speaking to us, loving on us, seeing us as perfect and whole and innocent and amazing. And But if we're not open, if we can't hear that, if we're not putting ourselves in a position to be able to be in relationship with that greater aspect, then we're not going to hear any of that. We're not going to feel it. And we're going to continue to just, in effect, sort of sit at home and have no God in our relationship. But it's not because God is ignoring us or has forgotten us or is dead or any of that other BS. It's just because of what we are not giving. Again, going back to the theme of this talk. So, I talk about all of those things in this course because the objective of this course is for you to be happy, for you to be joyful, for you to be have peace of mind and be satisfied and fulfilled and content and exhilarated and exuberant and think life rocks. And really, like, the name of my business is Rock Your Joy. That I feel like that's my job. I feel like that is my purpose for being here, is to help you rock your joy in every aspect, in every relationship that you have with anything. And it really, I mean, I'm talking about the relationship you have with yourself. I'm talking about the relationship you have with other people, and I'm talking about the relationship you have with God. But it's also in the other relationships that you have with everything in the world. The relationship that you have with money, the relationship you have with your body, that you have with your health, that you have with your fitness, that you have with your intelligence. So I mean, the relationships we have with everything, it all is part of this trifecta that we have, the Holy Trinity. I think of the Holy Trinity really as being you and all your brothers and the divine, and that they're all the same. They're all not only interconnected, but they really all are the same because we are extensions of God. Everyone else are extensions of God. And so, in one way to look at it is that we are all just part of God. And if we're all part of God, then we're all perfect and we're all whole. But we have forgotten that. We have been listening to the wrong voice for our entire since humans came to appear on earth, and we've been listening to the voice of the ego, the voice of fear, telling us that we're separate, telling us that we are not good enough, that we're not perfect, that we're not whole, that something's wrong with us, that we're not divine, that God is far away from us, and we're not on the same level, and plus we're guilty sinners, and so he's not going to pay attention to us anyways. And we have to basically spend our whole lives trying to get back in his good graces by doing all kinds of things to sort of prove it, instead of just knowing, just being, and just knowing our worth and knowing that we are already perfect. And when you know you're perfect, and I know people say to me, I'm not perfect, and it's arrogant to think that you're perfect, and that's blasphemy, and it's conceited, and all these other things. And it's like, but really, if you really truly believe that God was perfect love, and you really truly believed that you were a creation of God, then it wouldn't be arrogant to think that you're perfect. It would be logical to think that you're perfect. But I think where we go with it is we listen to the ego's voice, and we go with the ego's or our conditioned selves definition, which is if I say I'm perfect, that's arrogant and conceited, because when I say I'm perfect, what I mean is I'm perfect and you're not. And that's kind of how we act anyways when we're making people wrong and finding fault with them, is that we're kind of basically saying that, not so many words. And the truth is, if I see myself as perfect and I see you as perfect, and I see us both as extensions of perfect love, which is what the divine is, then we're not going to have any relational conflict. That really is what the goal is. And that is really what I'm teaching in this course is how to see yourself, your brother, and God as all perfect and all the same. And when you do that, and as you practice it more and more, and as you use the tools and the practices that I talk about in this course, you will have no choice but to transform your relationships here on earth because you can't see yourself as perfect and whole and see other people as perfect and whole and see everyone as extensions of the divine and have crappy relationships. There's no way. So it's going to happen. It's just a matter of whether you're willing to do the work and that you want it enough, that you want to be happy enough. You want joy, you want peace of mind, and you want to have fun and be dancing around in the light. So I can tell you that I'm the poster child for it, and that having done all this work in my relationships, and it wasn't really work, it wasn't really hard. It just required willingness. And so as I was willing to do it and put my pride aside and put my all the dumb ego stuff that doesn't matter aside and just extend love in the forms that I've been taught to do, all my relationships transformed and they're all wonderful and it's amazing. And so I'm just going to ask now in the last 15 minutes of the call. This is a Q&A period for anybody who's on the call that wants to ask me any questions. Whether you want to ask a question about, just go ahead and put it in the chat. If you want to ask questions about the course itself, you want to ask any questions about how does it work or how does it, anything about how it operates or any other questions you might have, put them in the chat and I'll be happy to answer them. And if you, one more reminder that if this is something that sounds good to you and it sounds like something you'd like to do, I'm going to remind you that we have until midnight tonight to enroll in this course, and that's for $111, which also grants you then the 4 sessions of coaching, and that is 4 weekly group coaching sessions starting on Tuesday the 20th at 6 p.m. So I'm just going to keep talking. If you ask a question, I will answer it. But in the meantime, this is your time. So, I have yes. Yeah. That was one thing I was supposed to also talk about is that there is going to be a replay. So if there is going to be a replay from this live. So if you have questions, you do still need to enroll by midnight, but if you have questions, I will go ahead and answer them, even if you are watching the replay. So I wanted to just let you know that. But I also wanted to say, in case I didn't say that earlier, that if you are not able to join the live coaching sessions, the 4 live group coaching sessions, those are also going to be available on replay as well, specifically for people who have enrolled in this course by midnight tonight. So I wanted to say that too. So going back to what I was talking about before, and just, a good example. And so some of you may have heard me speak this week. You may have received an email message or seen a post about the fact that my sister Shar, my only sibling, passed away literally on the day that I launched this course on February 4th. And I did, I thought a lot about not moving forward with this launch, but I did a lot of praying and talking to spirit and talking to her in spirit form and all of that. And I got very clear guidance to go ahead with the course and the launch and to do this. But one of the things that was so important to me about it is that she was one of the people with whom I had conflict. And I had conflict. I was estranged from her for 8 years. And this is decades ago, I'm happy to say. But for 8 years, we were estranged from one another, didn't speak to one another, um, you know, wound up in the same places sometimes, like at a family wedding or whatever, didn't talk to each other. And that is a relationship that was healed using the things that I teach in this course. And so I want to make sure that I say that because it really there's power in these tools and in this mindset and in this spiritual psychology and in these practices, power that is beyond our own ability at this level of the human level. We are calling on power that is greater than ourselves, which is why I talk about cultivating that relationship with the divine, because that's where that power comes from. And it is absolutely miraculous to me that she and I were able to move from where we were, and in that such a separated state from one another, only in our belief, not in truth, but it was our experience because it was our belief, that was our perception, to being close and being in each other's lives and talking with each other and spending time with each other and really truly experiencing amazing healing. And I'll tell you another aspect is that a lot of people don't understand that you can heal a relationship even if the other person, even if you never speak to the other person again, if they are alive in the world, and if the other person has made their transition from the world and are no longer in the physical, you can still heal those relationships. And I again have personal experience with healing a relationship with my father, who had passed away. And at the time he passed away, we were estranged from one another. I did visit him in the hospital the week before he left the world, but we had been estranged and we had not been in each other's lives. And I did this same work, applying the things that I'm teaching in this course to my relationship with my father. And I can tell you now that we are closer than we have ever been, and we are closer than probably we ever were since I was a child. And I see him every day in my mind. I talk to him frequently. He talks to me frequently, and we have just completely experienced a miraculous healing and have a relationship that we never had after I got past probably the age of 10 or so while he was alive in the world, but we have it now. And so if there are, and it's also possible with people that I've healed relationships with former partners that I have that I may never see again. And that's okay. But if I were to run into them, I would absolutely, I would feel, and I do feel that those relationships are healed. And so if I ran into them somewhere, I would want to give them a big hug. I would want to tell them that I love them and I hope that they're happy, and thank them for everything that they've ever been to me and everything that they ever taught me, and that it was all important, and it was all part of who I am today. It was all part of how I got here, and I have nothing but appreciation and gratitude. Even though I might have divorced them or broken up with them, or maybe they broke up with me or whatever happened, that none of that matters because those relationships have just been healed. And in healing those relationships, A Course in Miracles would say that they've gone from being what the Course calls special relationships, and there's special love and special hate, but they're two sides of the same coin, because when you love one person more than you love other people, or you love people conditionally, so you love them as long as they're behaving themselves the way that you want them to, and if they're not, then it can turn from special love to special hate really quickly. And love doesn't turn into anything else. Love is just love. So if it was really love in the first place, it's going to be love forever, even if it's expressed in different terms. So even if it's expressed not in the form of being in a relationship, in the same kind of relationship, it's still love, or else it was never love to begin with. It might have been need, it might have been attachment, it might have been something masquerading as love. But if it's love, it's going to be love forever, even if you never see the person again. And so just know that if you've got relationships with people in the world that you're still carrying around, dragging around like some albatross and resenting, that you can heal those relationships too. It doesn't just have to be with people with whom you are in active relationship. And if you have people that have with whom you are in relationship that have left the world and you want to heal those relationships as well, that it's absolutely not only possible, but you can do it. I can help you because I've done it. So I wanted you to know that as well. And I think it's important to include those relationships in when we talk about creating miraculous relationships. It can be on any plane of existence, in the physical, in the non-physical, whether it's people that you see or whether you people that you don't see or people that you think you hate or people that you think hate you and want nothing to do with you. You don't really have to even interact with people in order to bring those relationships to the place of holiness and a place of healing. And and that when you do that, then everything is healed. When you heal a relationship, it's healed in every direction, which means you could have had, 20 past lives with the person. All of it is healed when you heal the relationship. You may be set to have 20 more future lives with the person, and it's all healed in the future direction. All karma is corrected. Karma is just an idea that we carry around about how it's a tit for tat. Love is tit for tat, and that if you do something bad, then you have to pay for it. The only thing that heals that is when you forgive yourself and you forgive the other person and you don't hold anyone responsible, including yourself, for having done anything, but you forgive it all and you surround it all with love and you allow love to be the medicine. You allow love to be the cure. You allow love to be what the healing elixir. And then there is nothing that you have to pay for, nothing you have to punish yourself for or another person for, or that you have to come back in another lifetime and have a terrible time because of things that you did. You can transform all of that. You can dissolve all of that. And that's what the power of love does. And that's really what we're talking about here. So I'm so excited to have you enroll in this course, and I hope that you do, because I'm really looking forward to those coaching sessions, and I'm really looking forward to having you bring your questions or bring your situations. I see Amy saying that she needs this course. Well, I think we all need this course. I certainly needed this course, Amy, and the reason why I created it is because I needed it, and I I I got it, but I got like the really long version of it where I had to find the answers at the time that I found them, and they weren't all kind of in one place. I will say that they were actually all in one place. They were in A Course in Miracles, and that's largely how I got to this healing. But this is a lot shorter of a course, and I am not by in any way suggesting that A Course in Miracles or that my course is a substitute for A Course in Miracles, because it is not. But it does give you a lot of the practices and a lot of the helpful tools and the mindset and the psychology so that you can do an awful lot of healing with the relationships that you're in, with others, with yourself, and with God. So I want to thank you so much for being with me this evening, or so much for being with me on the replay if that's where you are, and so much for purchasing the course if you do, and that I will see you next Tuesday at 6 p.m. if you're able to be there. If you enroll in the course by midnight, and I'll see you on that live coaching, group coaching call. And I'm really, really looking forward to that. So thank you. And I love you so much, and happy Valentine's Day.